day. Good day.
Great day to you, Bashar. How are you?
Perfect. And you?
You're welcome. So to begin, I wanted to, I've been studying the Abraham teachings,
Yes.
and a lot of times they'll ask their questioners, do you believe that you're vibration and energy? And I can't ever say yes to that. So I was hoping that you might aid me in getting to know how I can get my mind to know that everything is made of vibration and energy, including me, like my mind knows how to pick up a pencil.
Well, have you studied even your own physical, scientific quantum mechanics?
I've tried, but it just goes over my head.
Well, take your time. But the idea in general is that everything is about resonance. Everything is about frequency. That's how you differentiate. Let's start at the beginning. Do you understand the concept that there is simply one unbroken, homogeneous existence?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
All right. Let me put it even more simply. Do you believe in cake?
Yes.
You're familiar with cake?
Cake, yes, that you eat?
Yes, cake.
Yes, yes.
Now, if somebody gave you a slice of cake and asked you, can you analyze, however you wish to, under a microscope or whatever, what the ingredients are that went into creating that slice of cake? Are you with me so far?
Yes, yes.
Does that seem like a thing that is relatively simple to do?
To analyze it all? No, not go under a microscope, probably yes.
All right, thank you. And let's say you do that and you find, well, there is milk in here, and there are eggs in here, and there is flour in here, and there is chocolate in here, and there is sugar in here. And you find all these things and break it all down to those particular individual ingredients. Yes?
Yes.
You're with me so far?
Yes.
All right. Each of those things are made of atoms, yes?
Yes.
You understand that, yes?
Yes.
Well, what makes sugar different from chocolate?
I don't know.
Sure you do. It's made of a different arrangement of atoms, is it not?
Okay. I'll go with that.
Can you
Yes.
follow that? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So a different arrangement of atoms is similar to the idea of a different frequency. It gives off a different vibration because it's a different arrangement of things. Just like red is electromagnetic energy, the same electromagnetic energy as blue, but it's operating on a different frequency that your senses perceive as what you call a different color. Are you with me?
Yes.
All right. So it's really no more complicated than that. One material from another is a different arrangement of certain things that you call atoms. One color from another is simply a different frequency, in much the same way that when you watch your television, you're watching one program and then you switch to a different program. Well, why don't those two programs interfere with one another? How can you see one clearly and then another that's different clearly without interference from the one you were watching a moment ago? It's all about a different frequency. It's like teeth interleaving between one another instead of trying to get into the same space at the same time. So that's all that's meant by different frequencies, different resonances, is just about whatever the material is, and you don't have to know what it is, that existence is made of, has different patterns of frequency and vibration, different ideas within it that create different experiences. And that's what creates everything, is those imposition of different patterns, different frequencies, different vibrations that allows you to perceive something as being different from something else, even though it's all made of the same thing. Is this helping?
Yes. Thank you.
That's all
Thank you.
there is to it.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Make sense?
Yes.
All
And the
right.
last thing I wanted to talk about was the ego.
Yes.
How can I've done the practices that you've talked about, like with writing a contract in order to get the ego to stop wanting to be so dominant in everything.
Yes.
And as I've been practicing the law of attraction with the Abrahams, it still seems to keep wanting to know the how of everything, so that dominant thought kind of overrides the other dominant thoughts
All
I've
right.
had. How can
All
I
right.
go about? Yeah.
That's because you have a definition of that makes you think that it will actually help you when in fact it will actually hurt you. So the idea is that when the ego thinks it needs to know all how the mechanisms work and how this and what's going to happen and all the details, it's actually, shall we say, making itself more opaque to what's going on. It's actually slowing the process down by doing that. It's actually assuming it knows what the best outcome actually is when it doesn't. If you actually start relaxing that and give a different definition to that idea as something that would actually work against you and not allow you to move forward as quickly as you might like and not give you the actual best outcome, then once you associate that idea, that definition to the process, you will stop doing it because you will realize that the ego simply has no capacity to know what the best outcome is, or that it really needs to know how things work, and that all these things are working towards slowing the process down and making things actually more murky for you.
Okay, so having a stubborn mind or a stubborn ego, is that a common thing that people have?
The stubbornness, again, stubbornness comes from a definition that is out of alignment with who you truly are. So in other words, you're defining the stubbornness as it's got to happen this way or something will go wrong. You have to realize that that's just a story that your negative beliefs are telling you. You have to stop believing in that story.
So it's more about my beliefs, not my ego actually doing it.
It's always about your beliefs because your beliefs color what your ego is capable of expressing itself to do.
Okay.
So go into the beliefs and say, stubbornness is just an insistence that if I let go of doing it this way, something worse will happen. That's a belief that the negative belief is trying to get you to buy into so you won't let it go. This is how beliefs perpetuate themselves. The negative ones will use fear to perpetuate themselves. It's not malicious. It's just how they're structured, because if beliefs, both positive and negative and neutral, don't have a way of perpetuating themselves, then you can't have a physical reality experience, because physical reality isn't real. It's only the product of what you believe to be true. It's only the product of your focus. So the idea of buying into a negative belief, if you happen to have bought into it to begin with, is that the negative belief is going to continue to try and perpetuate itself by feeding you more negative fear-based beliefs so you won't let it go. You have to understand that what it's telling you is not a fact. It's just a story to perpetuate itself, and that you can change the story and everything will be fine.
Gotcha.
Does that help?
Right. It does. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day. And
So welcome.
thank you so much for your time. Bye.
Always.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Hello, Bashar. The other day I was reading some channeled material from the Arcturian Council where they were describing that we are here to experience the ultimate experience of knowing ourselves from finite beings to infinite beings. And, you know, that's cool, but it just seems like I feel like I have this perspective that, you know, we're just kind of like bored as high dimensional entities, and we kind of just want to, you know, play a game to, you know, experience ourselves as separate. And, you know, to me that just seems like we're just like guinea pigs. I don't know. So I'm kind of just, you know, at a loss with trying to figure out why we're even doing this. Please and thank you.
You are your own guinea pig. You're not anyone else's guinea pig, and you're not bored as higher entities. You simply see the excitement and the value and advantage of doing things in different ways according to what's possible in existence. So don't necessarily have to bring boredom into it. You don't have to bring the idea of victimhood into it by referring to yourself as a guinea pig. If you are a guinea pig, you're your own guinea pig. So sometimes you might decide it's going to be very exciting to go into a particular reality so you can pig out in a different way.
Hi there. Thank
Hello.
you, Bashar, for taking my call.
It is our pleasure and our passion to do so. What would you like to discuss?
I'm curious about, since consciousness takes place at the subconscious, and unconscious level, Is this unique to the human experience, or do others as well, other species have those three forms of consciousness?
There are a few that do, but of course they can still experience them in a very different way. So it's not absolutely unique to humanity. What is relatively unique, although again not absolutely so, with Earth humans, is the degree to which they allow the fear-based beliefs to color the functionality of the subconscious mind.
I see. That being said, I do notice that when we go into the dream state, it seems like we open up to a higher aspect of consciousness.
Yes.
I'm presuming, since you've mentioned that your species woke up in the dream.
Yes.
So my question is, as we try to expand our consciousness, how can we maintain what some experiences, out-of-body experiences while we sleep, so that we could become more cognizant and retain a memory of our sleep?
Where it is relevant to do so, you can do so. It might not always be relevant to do so because you might be doing many things out of body that aren't necessarily relevant to what you're doing when you're physical. So don't necessarily insist that you have to remember everything. But if you open up to the idea of allowing yourself to be more lucid and let the physical and the non-physical become more common in the sense of being more alike than not alike, relax the definitions that there is such a great difference between physical and non-physical, because physical reality is just a different type of dream. So the more lucid you become in physical reality, the more lucid and aware you will become of non-physical reality, because you're not imposing such a separation or barrier between the two, because they are just different aspects of one thing. Because remember, you never really leave spirit. You're just dreaming that you've left spirit. So the more you allow yourself to relax the definitions of difference between physical and non-physical reality, the more you will remember whatever is relevant for you to remember when you are, quote unquote, out of body. Does that help?
Yes, it does. And to that end, I find it kind of synchronistic that we're dealing with a species that doesn't use memory in the same way that we do.
Yes.
And yet we're going through an experience of coming into incarnation with no memory.
Well, some of you, not all of you. Many of you do have memory.
Is it also part of the expansion to be able to recall, to bring forth the memories?
In general, yes. But again, it depends on what's relevant for the theme that you chose to explore. It's not necessarily relevant for everyone to do it that way, but it is becoming more generally possible and probable with the children being born on your planet over the last few decades, yes.
So along those lines, I could develop it if I chose that theme, because I feel like I'm exploring consciousness as a theme, and to that end, I seem to have woken up to some of the clairaudience experiences, and it's like when I leave the dream state, I wake up hearing conversations ensue or take place that apparently I'm doing while I'm dreaming.
Yes, all right. So again, that may be part of the process of creating more similarity between physical and non-physical reality for you by crossing that divide, by allowing conversations and awareness to cross that divide and start leaking into your physical reality from the non-physical one.
I was also curious if I had an experience in 2008 where I actually have a recollection of being on board a ship, but I don't know who those beings are. Would it be possible? Would you be able to determine that?
Well, most likely you're dealing again with grays and hybrids, because that's the typical people you will be dealing with regard to those memories of being aboard ships. It doesn't mean that there aren't other beings there from time to time as well, like the mantis and so on and so forth. But in general, it will mostly be the grays and the hybrids. Sometimes you'll get the things like tall whites and other kinds of beings that have references and familiarity to some people on your planet. But again, generally, hybrids and grays.
And so when those exchanges occur, are we in some form of astral where, we meet halfway from where they're at?
Usually, not always, but usually. Sometimes there is actually an altered physical reality in which you still are kind of physical, but not exactly in the same physical reality that you consider to be your physical reality when you're, quote unquote, awake.
I see.
It can just be a shift into a parallel reality that is very similar to yours, but also contains qualities of the astral realm.
I see. All right. And so I also do recollect having an experience being out of body when I was in the hospital in a certain case. At that time, I had a being actually, I think, assist me in coming out of body because I was dealing with a lot of pain.
Yes, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon to have your guides or other beings help in those situations. Yes.
I found it fascinating because when I got out of the body, the being was actually looking at me above the hospital bed. And so I could see myself and I could see the being, but he wasn't looking at me in the bed. He was looking at me directly where I was out of body.
Yes, because you were more in that being's reality at that point. The body in that sense was in another reality that is not necessarily as relevant to that being.
And so once again, I guess, unless it's part of my theme, those memories of what took place when that took place seem to elude me.
It's all right. Again, you remember enough at the moment. Take the energy, take the experiences, and move forward in your exploration. Don't necessarily think that you always need to look back.
Great. Wonderful.
All right?
Sounds great. I appreciate the time, and I wish you unconditional love and gratitude for your service.
Unconditional love to you as well for yours.
Thank you.
Good day.
Good day.
And pleasant dreams.
Hello, Bashar. So when I was about 5 years old, I had a contact experience, a brief experience with a gray in the middle of the night. As I was walking into my bedroom, through the bedroom window, I could see the gray sitting in a school desk that was right outside the window and had his arms on the top and was turning his head to look at me. And I have thought over the years that perhaps the school desk had some type of significance or connection to the fact that I was meant to teach, or that was my passion. And I have taught and have done a lot with education and coaching and things like that. I've sort of dabbled in some of that more recently. And I've learned over the years what's my passion, what's not my passion. It is ever evolving, as I think it should. But I'm just curious if there was significance to the way that the gray approached me sitting in the school desk, or if it was just a way to approach a small child and not be so maybe scary as to just show up standing up in the same room. I love you, Bashar. Thank you so much.
Well, both. Not only about the idea of teaching, but also about the idea of learning and letting you know that when you are asleep and out of body, you are attending different classes on different levels of dimensionality in ethereal or astral planes, learning different things that you need to learn in order to teach different things on the earth to aid and assist in the evolution of humanity. But yes, to make it simple for a child to understand and to not be scared as well.
Hello, Bashar.
Good day.
My name is Sarah. I'm currently in California, and I have a question about transforming the Orion energy of oppression as it relates to my uterus or womb.
All right.
When I began connecting to the hybrid children, a game happened where I would imagine them as tiny babies, and I would pop them in my womb, and I would flow love to them, and it was a fun permission slip.
Yes.
I thought it might be fun for them in case they hadn't had that experience. And it's fun for me because I've been careful not to have human children because Earth is a little nuts.
Yes, we understand.
So where it got interesting was in Matters of the Heart, you said we could flow unconditional love to those in darkness. And I began to imagine even violent adults as tiny babies, and I would pop them into my womb so they could experience the unconditional love that I feel for the hybrid children. And this feels like a powerful permission slip for me. I've been able to unconditionally love anyone and everyone. So I want to understand it better. My question is,
what's to understand?
How can we use the idea of womb energy to experience personal expansion instead of oppression right now?
Well, aren't you doing it?
I am, yes, but I'm wondering how the past oppression relates to the progress we're making of transforming that oppression into freedom.
Well, again, by offering that kind of a permission slip and allowing yourself to become active in doing so, along with physical acts out in the world of service, you are at least providing the energy to the world that gives everyone the opportunity to choose something that will allow them to transform the idea of past oppression. So you are flooding, with that permission slip technique, flooding into the world a vibration that turns the entire world into that kind of a womb experience where people can go back into their child selves and re-educate themselves and realign themselves from that energy going forward to grow into adults that have nothing to do with the idea of the oppressive energy of the past. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you, Bashar. I am very grateful for you.
Our gratitude to you as well. Is that it?
Yes.
All right, then. Good day.
Good day.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have lots of questions from our viewers.
All right.
Okay, the first one. Is there a way to unite the unconscious and the subconscious minds with the conscious mind so that we can be consciously aware of all three? And would there be an advantage to our physical experience that way?
As long as you are physical, you will not completely dissolve all three, but you can allow them to work more efficiently together and mirror the physical version of a higher mind. But while you are physical, all three are somewhat necessary so that you can experience timing and processing of whatever information your conscious mind truly needs at any given moment. So there will always be some slight holdback, some slight process of funneling the information that's necessary at any given moment through. But yes, you can allow, by accelerating yourself, by raising your frequency, the barriers to become less solid so that they can work together, all three divisions can work together much more efficiently, much more fluidly.
Okay. And this person says, I'm interested in why we are specifically among all the other options for who or what we could be as a unique expression. So I guess why we are who we are. How is it possible for us to have preferences if we all come from unconditional love?
Because it is unconditional by the very definition of the word, you can be whatever you choose to be. Therefore, you choose whatever theme of exploration at any given moment your consciousness believes will allow it to experience what it needs for its own growth, whatever it is interested in, exploring in that sense. So you have the freedom to choose whatever you wish.
Do we have the option of choosing to come to Earth to do negative things?
You do have that option, but again, remember that when you say negative, a lot of times you will choose negative mechanisms to do positive things. For example, the idea that you are limiting your consciousness in order to have a physical experience is a positive utilization of a negative mechanism because you are imposing a limitation for various positive reasons, for experiential reasons, on your broader consciousness. So yes, in the way that you meant the question, it is possible that you may see that someone doing something that would be considered to be negative could inspire others to act positively and perhaps change things in a more positive direction by having something negative to push against.
Is there an optimal way to meditate? And is there like a best length? And is 10 minutes just as effective as 1 hour? Or?
Not necessarily. It takes about 15 minutes for the neurological pathways of your brain to rewire themselves effectively. in a lasting way. So the idea of whatever form of meditation you are attracted to would be the best thing for you, the best permission slip. And we would say optimally, allow yourself at least 15 minutes. You can go for longer. You can go for an hour. Again, it depends upon how you decide to adjust it that works best for you. But at the very minimum, 15 minutes is usually required for most physical individuals to allow for the appropriate amount of rewiring of the brain to be effective in terms of making the changes that you typically seek to make.
Okay, thank you. Following up from the guilt and responsibility transmission, is guilt always an indication that there is an energy alignment necessary, or can that mechanism get out of whack a bit? Is it possible for us to have a habit of unnecessarily being guilty when we feel guilty about things that we don't even need to really be adjusted about? And if so, how can we know the difference and clean up the confusion so